Master Jesus, let it go. Yeah, me let it go. Go, 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 go. Oh, let it go. I'm tired, let it go. Give your heart to Jesus. Let him take control. Just sit and worship. I know it hurts you, and I know it's painful. No way to wait, so you have to let it go. Your best friend is not your secret enemies. Let it go. Your wife is getting married to another man. Your husband are falling in love with another woman. Don't let it bother you. I've said let it go. If someone overlook you because you live in zero, if they insult you because you don't have nobody, if they say you will continue to be a zogo, if they say you will continue to be a prostitute, if they say you will continue to be a beggar, you will not marry, you will not bear your own children. If they say your knee is for borrow, some go to meeting, mommy can say no, Johnny Ginger. Just let it go. Jesus will change your story. Let it go. 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 Lord, help me let it go. Help me let it go, man.
Yeah. Mighty blow. Holla. Nobody do it like you do it, you a true God. Yes. You always hear me when I say my prayer with few words. But Jenna said, and they planted in this new world. Read the power every day, now while I'm still a good boy. Jehovah bigger than your problem, so just let it go. Just keep on praying, he will make your blessing overflow. To be the best at money rest, you gotta pray more. The God of Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, the God of mighty blow. But there is power in your blood, I want to give you praises. Yes. I gotta dance that David dance the thing. But love is how you make it better, may not be here. Say every time I sing, I'm on my knees begging. That's true. Only you can feel my struggle when I'm really stressed. So my papa bless me, then my enemy they get invest. Yeah. No matter what the problem is, but just let it go. Your delay is not your denial, everybody know. Just keep on trusting.
Well, good morning, folks. I'm Alfonso Z and Sort of the Liberian Public Radio and LPR TV. This is your regular editions of the Liberian World Today. It's an informative news magazine, 60 Minutes. Inside Liberia, the team of analysts, pundits, political commentators, they are here, and we'll be having a great conversation here this evening. Stay tuned. This is the best out of the rest, where conversation is being kept proportionate. Let us go here. How many of us willing to let go in Liberia all of the crazy stuff that is ongoing? Stay tuned. This is the voice of Jemima Walker fading away right here on the Diaspora Informative News Outlet in collaboration with Sky FM in the West African state of the Republic of Liberia.
That sickness that devouring you, I say, let it go. The barrenness, pack your load and go. Living the life of joblessness, let it go. I say, you spirit of suppression, let it go.
Good afternoon. This is Alfonso Z and Sort of the Liberia Public Radio and LPR TV. We want to welcome all of our viewers and listeners across the globe. We want to welcome you at this beautiful summer here. Just disregard this call here. It try to track me down to deter us from doing what we love doing and what we should be doing for our country. So Let me make sure. Yeah. Okay. This is it. Well, we want to welcome you to this program. I'm your host, your anchor, Alfonso Zienso, right here from the New England Bureau Decks of the Liberian Public Radio, and the voice is echoing throughout the length and breadth of the Republic of Liberia, current courtesy of our sister network televisions and FM stations, Sky FM, right up the hill, heading to Ducat direction. Well, today, the panelists of the Liberian Public Radio, the best commentators standing by across country. We're going to be having a conversation here, making a voice, echoing the voice of diaspora and community in the political process in Liberia. This is the billing that has been heavily contested for in Liberia ahead of 2023 presidential elections. That's the executive mansions of the Republic of Liberia, which host the head of the overall efforts in Liberia, the president. Well, what is going on in this building? Who is going to enter this building comes 2023? The questions, I have no answer to that question. You, the electors and voters, will be the one to determine. But it's a contingent upon the conversations that we will keep here. You can monitor this live feed on LPR on Facebook, Sky FM, and that of our Twitter and YouTube channel. A team of analysts, they are standing by. I will be breaking them in here. Let's go to Twin City, Minneapolis, senior political commentators of the Liberian Public Radio, but he does support the candidacy of Tiawan Gonglo. Sese Goya is here, standing by, right here this evening. Let's go to Atlanta, Georgia. You remember the histories of the Liberian, the USA elections? Daniel Trump was asking for certain vote to certify his presidency. Amos George from the far right also sympathize with Alexander Benedict Coleman. He's standing by in Atlanta, Georgia, joining this conversation, and is about to go downhill. The liberal progressive, I don't know where he stands. He said he's a liberty partisan for USA, but he has crossed carpet working against what? Bipartisan direction. The liberal progressive is in Sacramento, California, and he supports the candidacy of Ambassador Joseph Boyka. Let me bring in these guys here. Well, here we are. Hopefully, the rest is going to be here. Gentlemen, good morning, good afternoon from my end, and good morning to Samson To and the rest. How are you guys doing today? Welcome to the show.
Well, thank you, Mr. So. Appreciate it. Appreciate to be here this morning. It's about 9 a.m. here in Sacramento. It's very, very early. And it's Sunday morning. Family, everybody's doing good. Thank you.
Okay, let's go to Atlanta, Georgia. Amos George, to introduce yourself quickly.
Good afternoon, good morning, Mr. To, and good afternoon, Mr. Sisse. How you doing?
Let me go to Minneapolis, the Twin Cities. Sese Goya is an educator and also support the candidacy. I can't speak for you. Let me get it out of you here.
Good morning from Minnesota. Good afternoon, Liberia. Yes, I do support the candidacy of Tiawan Gonglo.
Okay, there we have it. To get a record straight, we also reached out to with the executive of the Congress for Democratic Change. That's the ruling establishment, Unity Party. We are hearing that Madam Magdala Copot will be sending. So these people, to get it crystal clear, it is not actually the party said that, but it is at their own violations of their own associations or political ideology they believe they are supporting this. So we got a confirmation from the CDC chair here that they will be putting forward. In fact, we had a CDC contributor here, Professor Asese Labozawo, who is on assignment in Liberia. I did meet with Chairman Molu, but we have not come today. Okay, gentlemen, we have a limited time here. Let's get strictly to the ball. I want to thank you so much for your time, your commitment. We're going to be communicating with Liberia directly this morning, this afternoon, depending on where we are. And we're going to get on the issue that is of a boiling point and that is moving concurrently inside Liberia. That has to do with this, the biometric, the sensors and all of that. They are in collaboration. So let me start from California. The liberal man, let me just bring you here. Why so much of these apprehensions of this biometric? And to set the stage, we did hear recently on our sister network television, Spoon Network, ambassadors of ECOWA As more or less they were to elusive, they were to elaborate on the prospects of this here. Should we still have apprehension, or should the Election Commission come forward to be more to elaborate on it as well?
Thank you, Mr. So I believe we still, I mean, any society that goes into these kinds of stuff believing that they have it under control, then they're fooling themselves, because these are all electronic process. And as you know, technical issue do have his backdrawn and what have you. So any society, as I stated, we all, every one of us, want to improve our lives. And so whatever we can do to have these things going, we'll like to do it. For example, this biometric process is itself, it's a very, very effective product to have in terms of electrics and the electoral process in Liberia. However, there are some shortcomings, and I think the fact that our people are not recognizing those things and try to educate the voters themselves to be able to understand what it is exactly what is happening, that's concerning. That's concerning. Other countries in West Africa have utilized the services of in the past, but are we ready? From my perspective, I don't think so. But then again, I am not presently in Liberia for me to make that kind of definitive judgment as to whether the folks in Liberia are ready or what have you. But from all indication, Mr. So, and then I peruse the internet daily, from all indication, I think our brothers and sisters, from my perspective, are not quite ready. And to make matter worse, those who are responsible, those who are charged with the responsibility, are not educating our people how and when and where these systems will be employed effectively.
Let me hold you right there. There's an indictment already been placed coming from the Liberal with the institutions responsible here. He did not call me. Let me get that crystal clear. But people who are responsible are not making this information. Sister Goyot, let me bring you in here. What is the apprehension here? What do you think is happening within your own world? Is there some sort of fear here that certain political party feels disadvantaged when this exercise is conducted? We are in a digital world, in modern time democracy, and this is something that is put forward. What is your own concern with respect to this process?
So first of all, as an engineer, technology is near and dear to me. I love technology. I don't think it's a bad thing. But to answer your question, I don't think necessarily I'm even more focused on the political parties that feel that would be aggrieved by the process. I'm more concerned about the disenfranchisement of Liberian electorates. Okay, so we are about to start something new, and we're about to test. We're about to just put it out there without any testing. There was no beta testing done. And to piggyback off what Mr. Toh was saying, these things come with glitches. That's what computer science is. They come with glitches. You got to run them, and you try to test for those glitches and make those corrections. That's the reason some of you that have cell phones, when you get up in the morning, if it's Android, most times they'll tell you need to update, you need to upgrade. You gotta click update, so they push through a new version to get rid of some bugs that they might have seen up to upgrade. We should have tested this on a much lower scale, like a by-election. You test this, but you don't choose the national election, presidential and legislative election without doing any beta testing whatsoever to try to roll this out. The second piece is, let's be very fair. Let's be concerned about internet connectivity throughout the Republic. I was in Liberia just in August, so I can definitively say that Liberia is not ready for this. Because when I was in Bumi, when it rained, I wouldn't have access to the internet. And so when I'm even calling people in my hometown in Slow, they have to go to the top of the hill to stand there to get cell coverage. So how are you going to do this biometric stuff when, in fact, the religious people, in their own hearing at the Liberian Senate, said that they could not carry out adequately the census because in certain places that they went, they had issues with having access to the internet connection. So if Legis, who is just counting people, had issues with the internet connection to help with their counting, how much more do we think about biometric information that we're going to be downloading, a lot more heavier data set? I think the people in charge of elections in Liberia should have beta tested this on a lower scale to find out what are all of the problems and fix that before bringing it to national and legislative elections.
So, in order, before I go to Atlanta, Georgia, where Amos George is standing by, you feel much is not being done. The Election Commission did not provide details in information as it should be in order for the electors to make informed decision making. Is that your point here?
Yes, and they are unnecessarily in the haste because you don't just adapt technology within 2, 3, 6 months and you try to roll it out. You have to test it out. Every engineer will tell you that. You test it out and you do beta testing and find all of those glitches, and then you try to fix them before you roll them out whole scale.
Okay, let me go to Atlanta, Georgia. Amos George is not meant to put you under the bus, but Georgia is noted in the history of the politics of America. This is where Donald Trump placed a call to the Secretary of State. Hey, I need few votes. I need a couple of thousand votes to put you on the finishing line. But this is not America. We are in Liberia. You heard from the Liberal. You heard from Sissy Goya. This seems to be the talking points of the oppositions. Who this thing really disadvantage? What is lacking into this conversation here in your own perspective?
No, Mr. So it's not the talking point of the opposition. This is for every Liberian. It's not about opposition. It's for the ruling party, every Liberian. Because if anything goes sour, who suffers? It's every Liberian. So in other words, to make this system work in Liberia, as my colleagues have said, there should have been enough information out there educating the people, enough testing of the equipment to make sure it functions. We had 2, 3 by-elections. Why they wouldn't bring this system to do like a pilot project and try it and see where the shortcoming and say, okay, this is what we can correct and this is what we can improve on. It was not done. In the midst of confusion, I would say confusion because you have legislation which is fighting hard for voter registration. Then you bring in biometrics, you add gasoline to the fire. How can we people navigate money through systems? We do not have a national ID card system. I said it already. If we had a national ID card system, we can say, okay, we can use people ID card to try to see. But there's nothing. And you just bring it in the middle of the election to say, hey, this is what we're doing. Now, if you went to Totan or Jaudi or Zamitan, where there's absolutely no electricity, no solar panel, how are you going to transfer the data from there to Morovia or to Zebro?
Are you trying to transfer the data here? You seems to go under the skin of the Liberian. You didn't go to your own county, Bon County. You did. This is on purpose to provoke the Liberian. Let me bring in the Liberian here. Look, it more or less is a convoluted one here now because Legis already to kind of like throw some sort of sour milk into this whole conversation, which is also an arm of the government saying one thing, Election Commission is saying one thing. Who is there to settle the score? The Liberal.
Mr. So, look, let me just completely disabuse this central right here this morning. Town is one of the best, if not the best town in the entire Republic of Liberia. I would say so. Town had 24 hours light, and even Zamitan and other places. These are people that are capable of doing it. But on a very serious note, this process itself, yeah, we can say here, the electricity or electronics and all that kinds of stuff, they have a system. My thing is the system itself, if they have done it correctly, I think they will be successful. Because the system, as I've been reading on it, you can go, I have an advanced team of logistic that will go out into the very rural area and try to take pictures and store those pictures. And so when the time comes for voting for the process itself, those pictures that have been taken in collaboration with people who will identify their voters, and they can utilize those pictures that were taken earlier and try to have these people to cast their vote. So that can be done. My thing is, this is a new process and a new phenomenon in Liberia. Let's put it that way. Now, Mr. So, it seemed like everybody from the Election Commission to any kinds of little organization, everybody is battle cry more. They're still campaigning. Why is it that the election commission with this kinds of brilliant idea, why will you not get the legislature involved from a very early age to say, look, this is what we have, and educate these people that will make the law so they will be on board with you, because these people can then travel to each of these cities or counties that they represent to be able to help you educate them. But from all that I've been reading, the lady, she seemed to be the only person in the room and the smarter person in the room to be able to do whatever they want to do. And this is wrong. This is wrong. These are the same people. And if God forbid, if there was something, she have the money, she'll be the first to leave the country. She has the money. But instead to try to bring the people on board and work with them, they're all taking on some sort of a position. Well, I know it. When she went to the legislature the other day, they said, where are your colleagues? According to the report, she said, I'm here to represent them. Is that serious? These are educated people, and they are abusing the system such as this. This is not something the liberals take very lightly, Mr. So. This is unacceptable, and they need to change.
All right. I'm not sure what Assisi is moving in your direction, but there are committees in both houses, the lower and the upper house, are responsible for these autonomous agencies, such or committees such as the election commission. I'm hearing they should go that the election commissions or the committees in both houses, they also have a responsibility when there's some sort of noise filtering out there, apprehension, people not sure what is happening. That's their job. That is what they were paid for to do, to call on the committee. Do you think they have done their part to call on the election commission to provide detailed information? What I saw unfolding on the sister network Spoon with the ambassadors of ECOWAS coming being a little more elaborate, I didn't see that coming from the election commission. I don't usually agree with the Liberal, but it's quite true. The position of the election commission, what we heard was reported that the decision is ours. We don't know why it is. But do you think it's time for the both houses committee to intervene?
Well, yes, and this is where I think the House of Elders, the first branch of government, the legislature, is failing the Liberian people, because the legislature is not only made out of citizens. You have opposition political parties in there. When we had a rice issue, they, with their oversight responsibility, called in and rightfully grilled the Minister of Commerce. When we had the Legis issue, they called in the group from Legis and they grilled them. So why aren't they taking the election issues very, very seriously? I don't know. I really don't know. Because it's too sad. The other thing, though, I agree with the Liberal that yes, they could take pictures during registration period and take them back to Monrovia and download them. My problem is multiple. When you now are conducting the elections, you need those data points, those pictures to verify the voters. Are you going to have sustained internet access with enough data capability to download, for people to see those things in real time? That is going to be the problem. That's when you need the access to sustain internet. And then the other thing is, the reason we need the election, the legislature to come on is what is cybersecurity looks like. Because how are we protecting the votes? Because once you put something into electronic format, it becomes hackable. So what does the cybersecurity look like? Who are the experts, and what do they say the risk are? And what are they doing to mitigate those possible risks? Because we have to be able to do an audit to verify the transparency of the elections after elections are done. And if you're going to be giving us electronic stuff, we have to be able to verify that these electoral stuff are transparent and they are hacker-proof to the extent possible. So for me, that's my biggest question for the legislature. How are you asking people responsible for national elections on the security measure they put in place? Because remember, during the LOFA elections, just LOFA kind of elections, when NEC was posting data, they came back for a time and took down their website and said people had hacked their website and they didn't have access to their own website. They said people were uploading data. This was just LOFA County, where we weren't using any biometric information. They were just updating numbers. Now imagine making this at a national level. I am more concerned about the cybersecurity and the transparency of the vote. And this is where the House of Elders have to come in and do their work.
You adding more layers to this conversation. Let me go to Atlanta, Georgia, where Amos George is standing by. Interestingly, because I did follow the ambassadors, what I didn't hear too, what are they going to bring in logistic to give, to have a contingency plan, to backup plan with the argument of this, of what CC is making. Sometimes we see elections result in modern USA results delayed because of all of these things here. So who is shoving this thing down the throat of the Liberian people? Do you have an idea?
I would say this. I don't want to put blame on anybody directly, but Liberia should not be used as an experimental ground for this thing. They had done the same in other countries. They had not given on the layer or the format how they were successful in those countries. They didn't tell us. They just said they just brought biometric. But how did it work in the other country? How long it took for the people to be informed? And the ambassador said something. He mentioned the election commission once. He talked about the dissemination of information. What he was trying to say that, in other words, the election commission is not doing much to inform the people about.
Are you reinventing the words of the ambassadors?
No, he called the election commission. He said communication is very important. He said, like, for example, the election commission. He mentioned that. And we know that the election commission, they're not forthcoming. You know how many times we try to reach out to them, they are not forthcoming. They are not informing the public about what is developing and what is going to happen. So that is another vacuum. But I still say about the security side, this is very troubling. And Liberians must understand this. Because people can have a system and they can trace votes around. They can manipulate the figures. So the government, again, or the election commission, they are not telling us about the security side of this system. How secure will it be if people are voting, if their vote will not be straight around? All these things, they are not telling us.
They are not telling us.
Yes, they are not saying one thing. We do biometric system. But all these things come with some downsides. And we want to know from them. The Liberian people want to know. They must tell us.
All right. Let me ask this question here. It might be controversial because you politicians, those of you that talk side with these political parties, you guys are also in this blame game. And I intend to start with the liberal here. There is always they are saying the president is not talking. There's thing happening, the president don't want to speak. There's one happening, the president do not want to speak. Let me ask this question here, and I need a bold-faced answer from you guys because we all must be held accountable as well. The Liberal Progressive, should the president of the Republic of Liberia, the chief executive officer of the Republic of Liberia, should he intervene in this process?
Mr. So, thank you very much. Yes, but I don't see where and when he wants to be involved. Because look, let us don't sugarcoat this. The president get involved now. Your network will be the same network that are going to say, "Oh, look at the president getting involved in the electoral process." The man want people he want to take side. Mr. So, we cannot have our cake and eat it at the same time. Please. The president, yes, he's like the father of the nation. Understandable. There's no question asked. So at this movement, at this particular time, I don't see his involvement being any kind of crucial at this time. So now, people who needs to be involved are the lawmaker. This is very shameful. You have people like Honorable Komeni Wise. These are people, many of them in the Senate and in the legislature used to be student activists, student leaders.
Should we send Milton Tiaje into this?
Mr. So, the liberal is making his point. Please, this is Sunday morning, and I don't want to preach to you. Now, the point here is this. These people, some of them almost got killed. Are you telling me that the activism stopped when they became lawmakers? They no longer have the ability to talk for the people that they used to talk for, or they were just doing it for job?
They were just doing it for job. Let me, before I go here, you kind of like try to reconstruct here and try to give yourself a fine answer here. You want to be in multiple places at the same time. That's not what I'm off for. My question was, Should the president get involved in it? Yes or no? It's a sort of should the president get involved?
Mr. So, this is not a Supreme Court case for you to come and be a lawyer, yes and no situation with a liberal. You know where the liberals stay. I don't agree with the yes and no kinds of questioning. That's not what we do here. We explain ourselves and do it effectively. I say, yes, the president, if he wants to be involved, he will, but at this time, it's not time yet. That's what I say. And don't give me yes and no question. This is not courthouse.
The liberal is taking a calculative position here. If the president wants, he's unbalanced already. So he put it in a context that when the president gets involved, he will come back to say, "Oh, I provided alternative here." So let me ask you, from the world of let's dip into the minds of Councillor Tiawan Gonglo, even though you're not speaking for him directly here. This is a very crucial talking point here, crucial conversation. Should the president of the Republic of Liberia, like you, me, and every other person, the president is not speaking, the president is not talking, but it's an election, and the president is participating into this process as far as we are concerned. Should the president interfere? Should the president come up with a definitive position in this process?
I would say no. I would say definitely no. This is the one time that President George Weah is not speaking that I'm happy he's not speaking, because whatever he says will bias the process. And so I think that the NEC is an autonomous agency. And so once those commissioners have been confirmed, and now they're answerable to the branch of the legislature that has oversight responsibility. Those committees are the ones that are supposed to be speaking now and asking NEC, what do you need? But the bigger question here is that why aren't these lawmakers asking these people these cybersecurity questions? It's pretty much, I want to assume that because sometimes if you don't know what you want to ask, then you're afraid to ask. So what is keeping them from inviting a cybersecurity expert, these legislators, inviting cybersecurity experts to brief them and then ask the National Election Commission, what do they need? I think the Election Commission needs more money in order to be able to make sure that they have the most secure system, and in order to make sure that they do these biometric registration as fast as possible. But I think where the president can help is when it comes down to the legislature trying to apportion more money for the National Election Commission. I think he, as the president and standard bearer of the CDC, can be able to tell his citizens in the legislature to vote for it. But I would be very, very disappointed if the president came out and spoke on this. However, I would expect the political party, the Congress and for Democratic Change, the Liberian People's Party, the Unity Party, the CPP that encompasses the ANC and the British version of the Liberty Party on paper, they need to come out and speak.
I didn't hear your guy name. Is it on purpose?
I said LPP.
Oh, LPP. Okay. The British versions of the CP. You guys are doing everything possible here to trick or something from the Liberal, but he's still without it. Let me reconstruct this question here coming from Amos George. Since they took a position, the Liberal gave us some sort of morning breakfast toast here, which I'm not a favor of a toast, but I know exactly who he is, and he good at doing that. Sister made a point. These political parties, they do have representations in both houses of government. Are they making louder noise enough to bring this to chamber to have a conversation? They're sitting down, they're quiet, everything seems to be fine. At the end of the day, they will come and cry, baby cry. Who's going to listen to them? Are they doing enough?
No, not yet. I haven't seen enough push from them. And they need to start doing it now, because I don't want the person to get involved with it. What I want the person to do is to make sure.
So quickly, you agree with Sisse?
Yeah, I know. I don't want George to be involved with it right now. No.
Can we disabuse the Liberal, because the Liberal are very unbalanced?
I have to disabuse his mind. He has his view, so let him stay with it. Okay. I'm saying the person should not get involved. Those who are supposed to be handling the issue are the legislators. Those who have oversight responsibility, not just them, but any other senator, because this will affect the entire country. So they should be going to the colleagues who are in charge and say, hey, why you are not having a hearing on this? What is happening? What are the experts that we bring in? Bring in some expertise so we can invite people so they can help us to navigate this problem. The only thing I want the president to do to make sure, as you said, that the Minister of Finance make sure the money that is allocated for the Election Commission that is given to them, so we cannot find no excuse to say, oh, we didn't have enough money, so this is why we did it, or we took this shortcut. So that's why I would want the person to do the make sure forms that are allocated there by the legislature, and he should make sure he's in charge of the executive minister of finance disburse the fund to the national election commission to have whatever need to be done. That's all. But this, no, the person cannot call the commission to say, no, I will not support that. Let him stay away from it yet.
Like he stayed away from it. I am Afonso Zienso with the best political commentators, analysts standing by across country right here in the USA. In today's edition, the Liberian War Today is aired in Liberia on our sister network, Sky Communication Network, right there. You can follow us on our Facebook, Twitter, both networks. Let's take a quick break for you guys to get a cup of water or juice, whatever it is, and we will be right back.
The Liberian Public Radio, in collaboration with Sky Radio and TV, presents The Liberian World Today, a 60-minute program that connects the Liberian diaspora to the Liberian nation. The Liberian World Today begins airing every Sunday at 12 midday Eastern Time and 4 p.m. GMT. From politics to economics, health to education, the Liberian World Today brings on top guests with different perspectives and potential solutions as they discuss Liberia. Join our host, Afonso Zienzo, every Sunday at 12 midday Eastern Time and 4 p.m. GMT. That's the Liberian World Today on LPR and Sky Radio and TV this Sunday at 12 midday Eastern Time and 4 p.m. GMT.
That's your informative news program there, the Liberian War Today. Next week, coming Sunday, we will be playing host with Magdala Cooper. It's a strong political actor here, but let's change the narrative here. News is something that is concurrent, that is happening. The resurgence of the former Minister of State for Presidential Affairs, Nathaniel Falamagi, seeking new political shelter in Mount Gibby County, Republic of Liberia. He has inserted himself into the politics. I don't know how this is going to play out here. But let's see here. Let this communication, let this technology do all the favor. And I want to get you guys respond quickly here. Let's watch and see.
We're talking about regime. We're talking about that year our bomb. So when I been in 1984, I came to Monrovia. I came to Monrovia with my father. My story is like your story. But the man I'm about to speak about has your same story. I have a very tough journey like you. My story is no different from your story. You and I.
Guys, to be a politician, you must be skillful. What Nathaniel Magay is doing there, it reminds me of the Western politicians incite humanity into this conversation. My story is not different. Don't mind these people, what I was Minister of State for Presidential Affairs, whatever names they call me, but my story is like your story. And he connecting his story to the president. He kind of like step by a little bit here and put the president into this. Is that a good calculation? How can we then still distance him, even though sanctioned? But fair to mention, the sanction did not say, okay, don't contest. But who is walking down this slippery slope here in this whole process here? The Liberal, you seems to be a little bit flabbergasted in this whole thing here. Let me hear from you first.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. So quickly here. Let the Liberal try to do some more cleaning house here. The two gentlemen you have here make their statement definitively saying that no, they don't want the president involved. The Liberal, when I come to this position, I come from a perspective of a broad aspect. Mr. So, the Liberal is speaking. And so I am saying this, that this perhaps is not the right time. Who am I to say when the president speaks or when he doesn't speak? I do not have that power, and I don't pretend to have that power. From this perspective, I say, and I'm saying that if the president wants, it's up to him. I'm not here to tell the president what to do now.
Well, no, hold on one second. We're going to hold everybody accountable, just how we hold politicians accountable.
Mr. So
No,
we're not in a
one
courthouse.
second.
I'm
It's not a
entitled to
right
my
time.
view, and then you
I
will
understand.
allow me to express my view freely.
I
We're not in Liberia. We're in America.
I
You
understand.
will allow me to express my view freely.
Yeah, I do believe that, and I respect you for that. But we are also obligated to our audience not to provide some sort of vague information here.
Nothing vague about me saying it's not true, Mr. So. It's not true that I don't have the power to say whether the president speaks or he doesn't speak.
I get into a specific. He said this is not the right time. I'm wondering whether there's any specific time you have in mind.
In my opinion, this is not the right time because the thing is so. As a father of the nation, you do not get yourself involved. My opinion, you do not get yourself involved at the height of a confusion. You try to investigate, you try to find out, ascertain all of the problem that is happening so that when you speak from a position of informed information coming out from you, and people respect that. Mr. So, whether we disagree with the president or not, he's our president. He's the father of the nation. And I'm not going to sit here in my Sacramento home here this morning and say when and how the president should conduct himself in terms of speaking. So let me speak on to Mr. McGill issue if you want us to move on.
Yeah, go ahead.
So the fact that Mr. McGill, you know, when the whole sanction deal started, I was on air here, continuing to say that Mr. McGill should have resigned to save his brother and friend, all of the face saving. But it seemed to me, and I'm not going to miss word here to this morning, it seemed to me, from what all that has been happening, it seemed like Mr. McGill is very, very selfish. And I'm not going to miss that word. And I'm saying it without any apology whatsoever. Because if you're a friend to somebody, and all of them, they are politicians, I understand that. But here you are, sanctioned. You to be almost very close to the president. And the American government sanctioned you. And the president for months, weeks, never fire you, never ask you to resign. You did that on your own. We agree. But from you now coming in into this process, you have not vindicated yourself. Because the American government have no any kinds of legal ramification to come and go after you. You now going to go and thump your nose, your finger into the eyes of the American. This is unacceptable. And the president of the Republic of Liberia, where do we get all our funding, most of our funding and everything? Even if you get it from IMF, most of the time America is there to back you. And you're going to do this. You are an educated person. The people sanction you for stealing, they said. Why can't you try your best to vindicate yourself? You think that Senate, Liberian Senate or Liberian representative, is that where you're going to go to vindicate yourself? No. You try, but because young people are watching you. You come and do this kinds of stuff. You first of all go and vindicate yourself, then you come into this process. But of course, as a Liberian, he has the right. As a liberal, I support his right.
Okay. The liberal, he's always calculative in his argument, and that's what I do. He is around Nancy Pelosi here. Let me bring you here. I'm not sure what are you in line with the liberal talking point here this evening. Can we tie this to the president? That's not the president saying him. However, he's inserted in military. That's why you are a politician. You know that better. It's all about the people. He empathizes situation with the people. His story is not different from that of their story. First of all, to evoke that sort of humanity into the conversation. And he did that cleverly, that I can say. But should it be an issue? Who is walking down the slope?
Well, let me agree with where the Liberal ended. Let me recognize the right of Nathaniel Fallow Magee as a Liberian who has not been found guilty by a Liberian court to contest Liberian elections if he meets the guidelines. Now, having said that, my story is like your story is buffoonery. McGill, no, your story is not like the story of the people you were speaking to. How many of them can go to claim that having worked in government for less than 6 years have amassed that much wealth? How many of them can claim to have three course meal like you do? How many of them? have their children going to the kind of schools that you send your children to. No, your story is not like their stories. Because if your story were like their story, there's a lot of those people over there who are decent wage earners. They are honest wage earners. You are not. So your story is not like their story. Your story is that of the 2% that come to power and steal from the Liberian people. So no, your story is not like the Liberian story, like the Liberian people. Having said that, I want to make a prediction on this on this platform. Mm-hmm. Before George Weah come to the United States for his December trip, another shoe would drop in the relationship between he and McGill. Remember, George Weah, President Weah was very, very recalcitrant to the idea of firing these people until he had to start coming. He had a trip to come to New York, and all of a sudden, these people magically resigned. I guarantee you that as Nathaniel Fallow McGill continues to poke his fingers in the eyes of George Weah, because he's thinking he's doing it to the Americans, he's not, excuse me. The Americans are going to tighten the ropes tighter and tighter around George Weah, and there's going to be another separation. There's going to be a much wider divide between President Weah and the CDC and McGill. Because here is the conundrum. Do the likes of Josephine what's her name, Tamakoji, go to campaign for Fallow McGill? No, they can't. So would the CDC field a serious candidate in Mark Gibby against Fallow McGill? If they don't, we see that as them tacitly endorsing him, which creates a problem for the relationship between the George Weah government and the United States government. And so I truly believe that this thing, like I said the last time, Nathaniel McGill just want to maintain relevant, but the porcupine has been captured. The porcupine is in the zoo. The porcupine brigade is dead, and you can tell from the way McGill looks, this porcupine is not healthy. It's not going to go nowhere, and George Weah is going to put the porcupine away if he continues to do what he's doing.
Well, that's Sisi Goya. Let's go to the far right in Atlanta, Georgia. And I'm going to add a little bit layer onto this here because I'm also kind of like pondering why this question is not being asked by our colleagues, by journalists, because they have people that could find answers for. The president said there was going to be an investigation to launch. I was wondering on what basis that, in fact, the suspension of the Minister of State was constituted, was put into place. Was that an investigation by the Americans? Because more or less what I see happening here, when you screw up with the Fed money here, wherever you are, they will go after you. You know that. I know that. What was GOL's own internal investigations that led to the suspension? And why is the media industry in Liberia is not knocking the doors of the Ministry of Justice, the Ministry of Information to ask, where is this investigation? Is any investigation being done? And if it is being done, where it is? Now here we come. The parking plant. Try it in your own county, Bond County. Apparently, Mervyn Cole and others did not grant that political asylum to contest. Try to Bapolu, it didn't work out, but found a political shelter in Mount Gibby County. Interestingly, that's the dynamics of politics. Who you want to hold responsible?
Let me say this first. Honorable Mangi, Father Mangi, your story is not like those people. Your story is like Bill Traore. Your story is like Serena Cephas. Your story is like Vanny Sherman. Your story is like Tyler, what do you call it? Tyler.
Speaker Tyler. Alex Tyler.
Alex Tyler. Those are the people you should tell them that their story is like your story and your story is like them.
Do you mean to call Prince Johnson? The sanction group? Is that a sanction group?
Oh, yeah. Prince Johnson. That's your story. Those are the people you can talk to. When you go and rob the Liberian people, deprive children of education, health, clean water, road, and you come back to them, oh, my story is like your story. They don't ride a Mercedes-Benz costing $60,000, $70,000. How can your story be like that? How? So, Minister Mangill, please start putting on your children intelligent. And I tell our brothers and sisters, they should be able to read between the lines. When lies that Nathaniel McGill was engaging you people to tell you people about his story. When lies. When the EPS officer called him, you couldn't reach him. Oh, he's on sanction line. his other job. That when he comes to say, oh, my story is like a story. That's fallacy. But let me go to the GOL. I want to know how did President Weah reach the decision to ask or to suspend Nathaniel Mangione if there was no hardcore evidence from the U.S. Treasury? Did he ask after they wrote the letter when they had a meeting? Did they raise a question with the ambassador to say, hey, Mr. Ambassador, hey, we can't act upon this because the letter is too vague because there's no evidence. So we cannot act upon it. No. So it means that the person acting upon that letter, in the position, there may be something, some evidence to show that something did occur, and the government of Liberia will ask Minister Mangione to clarify what did occur. And the Minister of Justice, okay, let me go back. The president said that he was going to constitute a committee. We don't know the name of those committees, who are on the committees, and what is the scope in terms of reference. We don't know. We're still waiting. So I will assume that President Weah is also playing this game with the Americans. Or we'll just say, I will just make this statement, and it will die down, and it will be eventually thinking that that Liberian government, after 2 weeks, they will eventually leave it. No, Mr. President is wrong. Minister Mangione, those who make the argument that the minister was charged, there's no evidence. But I want to tell them, there are procedures out there. You can contact the Treasury Department. They will give you an outline how to challenge your sanction, how to dispute it. But I'm not a bit taking that back. The other day, the Liberal said that Mangione should put a press club and go to the American embassy to demand justice. Now today he's saying something different. So I don't know how the Liberal reconcile this statement that he makes. But the bottom line, I want to say, President Weah, Mangione, you're not poking your fingers in the ass of the Treasury Department and that of the United States.
I want to be fair here. Today is Sunday. Anyhow, you have managed to insert Liberal into this. And if I do not call him here, hell going to break loose here. But I meant to ask a question in the Liberal. You can use that time to respond to what the men from the far right have said. Now, interestingly, it's still like an open field because former Minister Mangione did not tell us what would be his political status into this year. Is he going to contest as a citizen, or is he going to go as an independent? That's what I'm waiting for to see, and how can he kind of like navigate through this person here. And two, quickly, let's spin it around the room here. Should CDC denounce his acceptance as to contest? Should CDC executive, should this thing? Nobody is talking. So it's like, let's throw this red meat out there and see how it play out. But let me go to Liberal before he forget. Amos George, anyhow, managed to bring you into this conversation.
Mr. So, the Liberal is not here to respond to a conservative man from Atlanta. I do not engage conservative people, and it seemed to me, and I could be wrong, but it seemed to me many Liberians are conservative as well. But I'm just going to say I will not respond to a conservative from far central right. Exactly, Mr. Soul. You see, the Liberal is speaking. He's back. Okay, you know what I was going to do with my cocktail this morning. But anyway, not on a very serious note. Look, let me just go straight there to Mangione issue. CDC is not going to distance himself from Mangione. There's no way. Mangione is still connected, and that's what I use the word selfish when I was talking about describing him. Mangione is still connected to Dr. Weah. There's no question asked, and that's why Mangione, when he came out, he didn't tell you what party he was going on. He didn't tell you. He wanted you to guess. What I'm going to speculate on here also is this. I don't think Mangione going to take this thing further. I think Mangione is using this opportunity to open the line for CDC and Dr. Weah to utilize his popularity, Mangione engagement with the voters, to use that to then campaign for themselves. But as far as Miguel saying that he can, like sisters, he cannot run on CDC ticket. There's no way they're going. Once he made that statement that I am running on CDC ticket, then CDC and I believe Dr. Weah will distance themselves. Other than that, they're all going to play their mouse and cow games. So it's nothing strange to me. But as a liberal, I don't care to respond to a central right, and you, Mr. So, being a far right, having us here this afternoon is something that I'm very mindful of. I'm very mindful of that. So when the central right was speaking, you decided to put my picture up as close as much as possible. But that's okay, because you're on the side of the central right, because you, as a far right conservative, you always backing your conservative colleagues. So I understand that, and I'm ready for it. I'm not here to make friends with both of you. I'm not here to make friends. I'm not here for kumbaya. I'm here to express my view, and therefore I'm not going to respond to this.
Well, all right.
That's a conservative view.
See Sean Hannity backing off from Glenn Beck or Bill Conahan in Ohio. Let me just bring in Sissy here. Is that a good political strategy? To remember, Minister McGee was the torchbearer, was the frontlander of the president's campaign. To be honest with you, he knows how to mobilize. We must give that to him. Is it something that he forecasts that you didn't see? I don't see. You know what? Let's play this out here. That's another way to read, to wake up the spirit of the Congress for Democratic Change as a move ahead. Do you think, is he really going to contest, or is he just trying to poke in your eye? I mean, those from the oppositions and stuff like that, is he trying to poke in the eyes of the opposition?
I don't think McGill is going to run. And I don't think this is he poking in the eyes of the opposition. I think, if anything, this is he giving the opposition more ammunition, because the lack of Councillor Tiawan Gonglo, who runs on reform of the judicial system, where in Liberia there will not be certain people above the law or below the law. We will all be treated equally. I think this is a point to strike and say, well, Mr. President, you did say these people will be thrown over for justice. And justice delayed is justice denied. So you technically, GOL, the CDC-led government, is violating the due process right and the judicial right of its former chairman. So this is a problem for the CDC, and the CDC ought to start, as a government, ought to stop just indicting people in a court of public opinion and not sending them to court to have their day in court to clear their names. This has become a pattern. The city, we're still waiting for the July 26th kerfuffle, when seditions went and almost killed that other kid, and the president came out and spoke. We're still waiting for as a public, what is the outcome? What is the status? We don't have that. The president said that these people are going to be turned over. The two animals and the Serena seafood. I'm talking about the elephant and the porcupine. I don't know how those two coexisted, but that's a whole different thing in CDC. But you have not turned those people over yet, right? And now Miguel is right to say, well, I can't just be sitting in legal purgatory and not knowing what's going to happen to go out there. And so, to your question about should the CDC distance itself, look, the CDC is like a court, and the CDC has like a sticky glue situation. When have they ever distanced themselves from anything? The leak tip, they didn't distance themselves. Coach, you talk about blood will be in the street. They didn't distance themselves. Representative Solomon George talked about he wishing to become police director, so he will violate the rights of people and brutalize Liberian citizens. The president came out.
Time has caught up with us here this afternoon. What a great and fascinating conversation. But I'm going to give you a test. We also put forward a solution here on LPRA. Less for the good interest of the country here. Do you want to advise any advice for the ruling establishment? Quickly, 30 seconds, Amos Joy.
Mr. You come to people who listen to you. How many times we are not coming to the platform and offer solution? These people don't listen. The language we speak is different from their language they speak. And Sister said, all the injustices that are occurring under President Weah, there's no solution. Right. If he wants to do it, he got to bring in a justice minister that will be independent.
Thank you so much.
That the Liberian will have a transparent justice, but it's not been done.
Thank you so much. For the first time, far right is in line with you. Is there any solution you think, advice, pretend to providing counsel to the GOL? Anyone 30 seconds?
Yeah. The CDC, you have to learn that being an opposition is different from being the ruling establishment. Anything that goes wrong, you get to be here accountable. So elections, if they don't go right, people will blame you for rigging, even if you had nothing to do with it, even the election commission, even if the election commission is presumed independent. So you legislators, CDC legislators have to take the bull by the horn and start to take actions, because people are going to blame you right or wrong.
Thank you so much. The Liberal Progressive.
Thank you, Mr. So the only question that I have is, since when LPR becomes a platform for issuing advices and what have you to of Republic of Liberia, President of the Republic of Liberia? This is not a banana republic for an institution such as LPR to try to offer an advice. All I can say is, Liberian people, if they don't like what the president and CDC is doing, they will replace them. If they do, they will give them back power. I'm not in the process of giving advice to anybody, specifically an institution, government, Republic of Liberia, duly elected, 61.5%.
Gentlemen,
vote. So I'm not here to give an advice to somebody who won that much margin. Thank you, Mr. So, for having us.
What, folks, that's how we're going to bring the curtain down here this afternoon from the East Coast. It's 1:03 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The Liberal Progressive, thank you so much for being here. Our man, Amos Joy from Atlanta, Georgia, thank you so much for being part of this program. Sissy Goyot, educator from Minnesota, thank you so much. Well, I'm Alfonso Z and Sort of the Liberia Public Radio, LPR TV. We want to thank our sister network in Liberia, Sky Communication. Before we leave, I will leave you with these words. Myers Angelin, to do the best until you know better. Then when you know better, do better. This is how we're going to bring here. Join me this Sunday. I will be playing host to a strong lady also fighting the political battle in Liberia. I'm talking about Mandela Copot. Until then, we take studios in Liberia, take control, and thank you so much for this time. Bye-bye.
Oh, I'm tired. Pack your low and go. If you're picking, take your chemo. Let it go. Your best friend, take your horse. Let it go. If your wife say we are not compatible,